Okay, chapter 18, because chapter 17 left us on such a cliffhanger that we're going to finish this chapter, chapter 18, and then it will be the maze, part 3, so it's not very long. Chapter 18. The sword Temp had saved was still in his hand. As the jaws were about to snap down on Twitchtip, Gregor vaulted over her and drove the blade straight down into the serpent's tongue. Ugh. Liquid spurted up into his face. He stumbled back and slipped in a puddle of Twitchtip's blood. His feet went out from under him, and he landed against the rat's body. The creature reared up, smashing its head into the tunnel ceiling. Rocks showered down on them. Gregor could physically feel the serpent's primeval roar going through him. It continued crashing its head up and down in pain and rage as it withdrew from the tunnel, the sword still lodged in its tongue. Would more come in? "I need another sword," Gregor shouted, and Howard tossed one up to him. He stood crouched before Twitchtip, senses heightened. He could feel himself buzzing on the edge of going into the rage mode. He fought it, trying not to lose control as he stood there awaiting the next onslaught. It never came. Maybe word had gotten around that if you stuck your head down this tunnel, you could mess up your tongue. Or maybe the serpents had found more interesting food. Whatever it was, things were beginning to quiet down out there. The howls became fewer. The splashes died. Gregor unclenched his hand and turned around. Ares was right behind him, providing backup. Twitchtip had both paws on her nose to staunch the flow of blood. Howard was pounding on Meredith's chest, trying to restart his heart. "Meredith!" Gregor ran back to where the soldier lay on the ground. "Come on, Meredith!" Howard pounded a few more times and pressed his ear against Meredith's chest. His heart beat his back. "What have you in your pack, Overlander?" Gregor dumped his pack on the floor. It held his last batteries, the duct tape and 2 candy bars, and a few catch cloths he'd put in to have handy in case Boots needed a change. Howard ripped off the remains of Meredith's blood-soaked pant leg, revealing jagged flesh around a gaping wound. A serpent bit him when he went in to help Twitchtip. He laid 3 catch cloths over the wound. "Hold them," he ordered Gregor. Then he wrapped the duct tape around the leg to keep them in place. He sat back on his heels and shook his head. "We have to get him home, if he is to survive. Warm him, Andromeda, while I tend to the rat." Andromeda lay beside Meredith and enfolded him in her wings. "I must take him home. I must take him home." Howard grabbed the last 2 catch cloths and went to Twitchtip. He used one to bandage the stump of her tail. "I am sorry I had to sever it," he said to the rat. "There was no other way to free you." "I would have bit through it myself if I could have," said Twitchtip. Howard placed the other catch cloth over her nose and wound duct tape around it. "You will have to breathe through your mouth until it heals," the rat nodded. "What happened to your nose?" asked Gregor. "Just before Howard cut me free, a serpent crushed it with its tail," said Twitchtip. "I can't smell a thing." "You can't smell?" said Gregor. Twitchtip would not be able to smell the bane then, but there was as much more pressing matter. "Then you can't tell me where my sister is? I mean..." "Do not fret, Overlander. My cousin and Aurora are on excellent team. I am sure they have all taken refuge in one of the tunnels," said Howard, but he looked uneasy. "I believe they meant to," Twitchtip said, avoiding Gregor's gaze. Uh-oh. Gregor felt time's up. "You believe they meant to?" Twitchtip hesitated. It was all very confusing. The serpent was swinging me around, and there was so much motion, it was difficult to place any smell. "Luxa and Aurora caught Boots. They caught Temp. Aurora said this to me," said Ares. "Yes, they did. I know their smells were all together, but then, there was water between us," said Twitchtip. "What does that mean, there was water between us?" Gregor asked. "It means I still smelled them, but there was water between us. Many feet of it. Their scent was getting fainter, and that's when the serpent hit my nose and everything went dark," said Twitchtip. "You think they were pulled under then?" said Howard. "I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess. If I were forced to make one," said Twitchtip. She looked up at Gregor. "I'm sorry, Overlander." "This did not happen. I will call for Aurora now," Ares said, and shot out of the tunnel. No one moved while he was gone. Gregor's body was slowly turning to ice. The numbness started in his feet and began spreading up his legs, over his hips, up through his stomach. By the time Ares came back and landed beside him, it had reached his rib cage. "There is no answer," said the bat, and the ice encircled his heart. Die the baby, die his heart, die his most essential part. They had killed Boots. Nothing could be worse than this. He imagined going back to New York City and walking in the front door of his apartment alone. "What do you wish to do, Gregor?" Howard asked after some indistinguishable period of time had passed. "Die the baby, die his heart, die his most essential part, die the peace that rules the hour. Gnawers have their key to power." They were off celebrating somewhere, the Gnawers, gnashing their ratty teeth and laughing and congratulating one another how well the plan had worked, how well they had killed his baby sister and broken him in two. The ironic thing was that for the first time Gregor could envision what he was going to do. "Gregor?" repeated Howard. The ice had come up over his throat and his voice was calm and cool. "I want you guys to go home, get Meredith back, Twitch Tip too, if you can," said Gregor. "And what will you do, Overlander?" asked Twitch Tip. Gregor felt the last bit of warmth disappear as the ice went across his forehead and up over the top of his head. There was nothing left that anyone could do to him now. There was nothing left to fear. "Me?" he said. "I'm going to kill the Bane." Dun dun dun. Part 3 is the maze. We'll read that later.